All right, welcome. Today, we are really going to pull back the curtain on what makes YouTube tick. We're going to start with something that sounds super technical, a little thing called the channel ID, and we're going to follow that thread all the way up to the secret sauce, the science behind making content that doesn't just rack up views, but actually starts conversations and shapes culture. It's going to be a fun ride. So let's be honest, have you ever stared at your YouTube settings and just thought, what on earth is the difference between a handle, a username, and a channel ID? If you have, you are definitely not alone. I mean, this question is all over creator forums. People are always asking, are they the same thing? Can I change them? And maybe most importantly, which one actually matters? Well, as we're about to find out, the answer is surprisingly important. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First up, we'll look at what I'm calling the channel's digital DNA. Then we'll take a peek inside the engine room. From there, we'll get into the fun stuff, the science of virality. We'll see how that connects to content, culture, and community, and we'll wrap it all up with a blueprint you can actually use for success. So let's get into it. Section 1, the channel's digital DNA, which is all about understanding YouTube's core identity system. You see, every single channel on YouTube, I'm talking from the biggest of the big, like Mr. Beast, all the way down to a channel that was just created 5 minutes ago with 0 subs, has this hidden core identity. It's best to think of it as the channel's permanent fingerprint. It's the one thing that never changes, the anchor that keeps everything tied down on the platform. And that fingerprint? That's the YouTube channel ID. It's basically your channel's social security number. Seriously, you can change your flashy handle, you can tweak your display name whenever you want, but this long string of letters and numbers, and you'll notice it almost always starts with UC, that gets stamped on your channel the second it's created, and it never, ever changes. It's the one true, permanent address for your channel on the entire platform. And this right here really shows you how things have changed over the years. You can see the evolution of YouTube URLs. We started with those old school user/URLs, then moved to C for custom ones, and now we've got these slick, easy to remember @handles. But look closely at that table. See how only one of them, the ID-based one, is marked permanent and reliable? That's because the others are just convenient masks, kind of like a pretty face. They can change, but underneath it all, they all just point right back to that one unchangeable channel ID. Okay, so why does any of this techie stuff actually matter to you? Well, here's the deal. For anyone building tools for YouTube, we're talking developers, analytics apps, all that behind-the-scenes magic, the channel ID is the absolute gold standard. A handle can be changed tomorrow, but that ID, it's forever. So when a tool needs to be 100% sure it's tracking the right channel, it's not looking for the handle, it's always looking for the ID. All right, section 2, inside the engine room and how the API uses these IDs to power the whole platform. So we've got a good handle on what a channel ID is. Now let's pop the hood and see what it actually does. This is where things get really interesting. So you'll hear this term, the YouTube Data API. What is it? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like YouTube's central nervous system. It's a special toolkit, a set of rules that lets other apps and websites talk to YouTube. You know when you use a tool like TubeBuddy to research keywords or an analytics site to track your growth? That's the API at work. It's the bridge that lets those tools access YouTube's data. And this is where that channel ID becomes a kind of master key. Check this out. It's a really simple two-step dance. First, a developer can take the ID from just one of your videos, any video. They use the API to ask, hey, YouTube, what's the channel ID for the channel that uploaded this video? Then, bam, step 2. They take that channel ID you just gave them, and they can ask the API, okay, now tell me everything about this channel, the name, the description, the subscriber count, you name it. It all flows from that one permanent ID. Okay, let's shift gears. Section 3, the science of virality. It's not luck, it's a system. We've just spent all this time talking about the code, the technical side, and how it's all built on this very logical, reliable system of IDs. So that brings up a huge question, right? What about the content itself? When a video blows up and goes viral, is that just a lucky lightning strike? Or is there a system to that too? Well, according to content strategist Brendan Kane, it is absolutely not luck. He famously said, virality, it's not luck, it is a science. And he didn't just pull that out of thin air. The guy analyzed thousands of viral videos to figure out what they had in common. And his big takeaway? The most successful content isn't some random lottery ticket. It's actually the result of a very deliberate, systematic approach to how you tell your story.
So what is this science? Well, Kane boils it down to three key things. First, there's the promise of value. This is simple. Your title, your thumbnail, your first few seconds, they have to scream to the viewer what they're going to get out of watching. No mystery. Second is what he calls the general's principle. This is all about taking a topic that might be kind of niche and making it so accessible that a general audience can get it and get excited about it. And third, and this one is so powerful, the perspective shift. If you can challenge a belief someone has or just reframe something they thought they knew, you've hooked them for life.
This whole idea leads you to a really important crossroads as a creator. You can either chase trends or you can build formats. Think about it. Chasing trends is just exhausting. You're always scrambling, always starting from zero. But the biggest creators, they develop formats. A format is just a repeatable structure. Think about Mr. Beast's last to leave X wins Y videos. That's a format. Formats are amazing because they're scalable, they build a system for your creativity, and they let you get really good at one thing instead of being mediocre at a bunch of different things. Okay, moving on to section 4, content, culture, and community, and how videos can shape real-world conversations. So let's connect the dots. What happens when you put all this together? You've got this solid technical backbone, right? And you combine it with a smart, scientific approach to being creative. Well, something really magical happens. Your videos stop being just videos. They start creating conversations, building real communities, and yeah, even influencing culture. Let's look at a real-world example. There's this YouTube channel called Jakarta Uncensored. They built their entire community by doing something pretty brave. They tackled topics that are often considered sensitive or even taboo in their culture, things like sex and relationships. So instead of trying to make content for everyone, they zeroed in on conversations that people were desperate to have but didn't have a place for. And what was the result? Well, listen to this quote from a subscriber named Alma, who said the content gives her a new perspective. Does that sound familiar? That is exactly the perspective shift we were just talking about. By going there, by talking about the tough stuff, the channel didn't just get a bunch of views. No, they created a community, a safe space, and they literally changed how their audience thought about their own lives. All right, final section, your blueprint for success. This is where we put it all together with some data-backed tactics for growth. We've talked tech, we've talked science, we've talked culture. Now let's boil it all down into a practical blueprint, stuff you can actually start using right now. First things first, your thumbnail. Please do not treat it as an afterthought. It's not. It's the movie poster for your video. And get this, the data shows that a whopping 90% of the absolute top-performing videos on YouTube use custom thumbnails. We're talking bright, high-contrast images, big, expressive faces, and just a tiny bit of text that makes you curious. Seriously, if you're lazy with your thumbnails, you're losing the battle before the video even starts. Okay, so they clicked. Awesome. But now the clock is ticking, and it's ticking fast. You have maybe 15 seconds to prove to them that they made the right choice. That's your hook. It has to be sharp, it has to be engaging, and it has to deliver on the promise your thumbnail made. Ask a crazy question, drop them right into the most exciting moment. Whatever you do, do it fast. And ultimately, this isn't just about one viral video. It's about building something that lasts. The data is super clear on this. Channels that build highly engaged communities, creators who are actually in the comments talking to their audience, they see up to 80% more organic growth. Why? Because your community becomes your volunteer marketing team. They share your stuff not because you asked, but because they genuinely love it and want others to see it. So here's a final, super practical technique you can try. It's called the hook point mirror test. It's so simple, but so powerful. Just take your video and play it side by side with a top-performing video in your same niche. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Is your hook as quick? Is your editing as tight? Is your energy on the same level? That side-by-side comparison, that's the mirror. It doesn't lie, and it will show you exactly where the gaps are. So all of this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Is viral success a formula you follow, or is it a culture you create? I think, as we've seen today, the real answer is, it's both. The technical stuff, the science, that gets your foot in the door, it gets you seen. But it's the culture, the community you build, that's what gets you remembered. Thanks so much for joining me on this one.